but it does mean that prices are never, let me say this clearly, prices are never going back to the way they were. Hello everyone, welcome back to Garden Fever. I'm Corey Lefevre, your host, coming to you direct from northern Utah in the United States. I want to thank you for joining me today. I truly appreciate it. Today I got a little bit of a different episode. In fact, this just might be, depending on my editing skills, just might be one of my longest videos. I know everyone in the world these days has a shorter attention span, but I hope you will listen to the video all the way to the end, for I do have quite a bit of important stuff to talk about today and to say. So with that, let's get right into it. But before we do, hit that like button. It helps me get my information out there, helps the YouTube algorithm, and it'll also help me with some of the subject matter that we're going to talk today. So with that, let's get on into the subject and get going. All right, so how can gardening help you financially? How can it help you with today's world scene and certain situations that we're in today? I think the first step in that, well, first let me just say that it can help with your grocery bills. It can help with survival. It can help with that doomsday scenario that you hear so much about. And it can help provide better nutrient-dense quality food for your body, so better health, better mental health, and things like that. So let's get into it. How did we get into the situation we are in the world? Now, a lot of influencers will kind of focus in on their main country or a country that they're allied with, and we don't focus on the world scene. Really, without skipping too far ahead of myself, really it's the whole world scene. Each country's kind of dealing with their own unique problems, but the source is relatively the same. And in my listening to social media, YouTube shorts, TikToks, all those fun stuff, which I don't tend to get on the political side and stuff like that. I try to avoid that when I get on social media, but it's inevitable. The YouTube recommendations will come and you see them and you click on them, clickbait if you will. I'm truly here to talk to you all about the importance of growing your own food. One, we have genetically modified foods. Two, we have a mass production of food through corporations that are transporting food across all over the world and all over the United States. So they're done on mass production. There's low nutrients. It's genetically modified, and there's just the quality of them. Although they may put a ton of pesticides on it and they keep them bug free, so they look good in the grocery stores. They're really anyone knows that a homegrown tomato versus a store-bought tomato, the store-bought just doesn't taste as good. It has low nutrient density. Your homegrown is always going to taste better. So with that in mind, that alone is a reason. More minerals, more vitamins. But I'm hearing a lot of finger pointing, a lot of it's President Biden's fault, it's China's fault, it's Russia's fault, it's Donald Trump's fault, how we got here. Now, don't get me wrong, our leaders can greatly influence our economies, decisions they make, how they spend money, how it's delegated through the government. All that can affect the economy greatly, but it's not the true source. It's not what got us here. And I don't know why, but people tend to have a short-term memory. If it's not being played on social media or the news in this week or this month or in the last couple of months, they tend to forget about it. I hear a lot of people reference the 2008 market crash here in the United States, Evergrande crashing in China, and the war in Ukraine and things like that. And all those things do contribute heavily to how the economy plays out and how it affects the world. But the true source of why we're seeing such massive inflation, huge inflation, is because we got scared to death thinking it was the end of the world from the coronavirus, and the United States and every country in the world shut down and printed off millions, trillions, billions of dollars. I say dollars in the US, whatever currency the country was from. And they flooded the entire market with cash, currency. And we shut down for a year. We had supply problems. All kinds of problems came from that. And why we have inflation right now is a direct cause and effect of that. No matter what president was in power during that time or there came after is the cause of that inflation. What is inflation? Like I said, I'm not a finance channel, but I don't feel like a lot of people truly understand how the monetary system works. Now, I know a lot of people on YouTube and different social media outlets that do finance channels may have an idea, and obviously the wealthy and the rich and people that are good at being entrepreneurs and CEOs and stuff have a better idea, but the average person doesn't seem to understand it. So let me give you a simplified, as easy as I can explain term of what inflation is. It boils down to supply and demand. The more there is of something, the less valuable it is. The rarer something is, the more valuable it becomes. For example, your general rock outside, if gold was everywhere and you replace all these just stones everywhere, all these little pebbles that you see in creek beds and everything, and replace that with gold would become valueless. It would have no value because anybody could just walk out there and grab gold. It's everywhere. But because gold is a rare metal, we can't make it. We can't produce more of it. It takes quite a bit of effort to get it. It becomes more valuable. And that's same with our dollars or our currency that we're using. Now, a long time ago, most of the countries went off, like let's say the gold standard, which means for every dollar or currency that they printed had to be backed by something physical, something that it was like a collateral, if you will. Like there's this so much gold here, we can print that many dollars out or that much currency because we have this in reserve. Lots of things have been used to back up currency, such as silver, diamonds, and other precious metals. When we went off that, we started to create a fiat currency. And what that means is we could just put a number on a bill, print them off, send it into the public and into the system, and there was nothing valuable behind it. So basically the central banks, which here in the United States is the Federal Reserve, and ironically most countries, almost all countries in the world, are using this system where they have a central bank that prints off money and it goes into the economy in various ways. The more money you print off, just like the gold analogy, the less valuable that currency becomes. That is inflation. It loses its purchasing power. So if there was only so many dollars circulating in the United States, it was rarer, it had more purchasing power. The more you print off, the more that's in circulation, the less valuable that dollar becomes. And this is true for all currencies in the world. Well, during the coronavirus, everybody printed off trillions of dollars. It varied between the countries, but we just printed and printed and printed to keep the economy afloat so that we could sit inside our houses and feel safe from the coronavirus to try and slow the spread, whatever. Like I said, we're not here for conspiracies, we're not here for political gains, but that's what happened. We are feeling the cause and effect because of that, and we're just barely starting to, only within the last year or so. It is in my heart and in my feeling that this is just the beginning, and that is why I'm creating this video today, because I want to talk with people the importance of self-reliance, to not necessarily rely on the grocery stores and the government to take care of you, because I don't think it's going to be good in the future when it comes to that. It doesn't mean you can't accumulate wealth. It doesn't mean that there isn't things that you can do. It doesn't mean that we won't survive. It doesn't mean that the whole world's going to end. But it does mean that prices are never, let me say this clearly, prices are never going back to the way they were. In a fiat currency, inflation is never ending. That's why the Federal Reserve likes to keep it around 3%. It fluctuates like a roller coaster. Sometimes it goes a little under, sometimes it goes way up. I guarantee you inflation has been a lot worse than they're telling us. Inflation is not 6% like they're saying, it's more like 10, 15, 20%. So how does the Fed combat inflation? The only way for the Fed to remove money from the system is to raise interest rates and make money harder to get by. Like I said, supply and demand. If it's hard to get something and it's rare, it becomes more valuable. So the Fed has been slowly raising interest rates, and other governments in the world are doing the same thing. Because they're raising interest rates and they're selling off their balance sheet, this is removing money out of the system. It's making dollars harder to come by. This is putting a major strain on the economy because you can't get a loan, you can't buy a house, it's hard to buy a car, rent prices are increasing, and we have massive inflation on top of it. I remember when I was in high school, I could go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac meal for under $5. I can't find it anywhere in even some of the cheapest states for under $10 now. So, what does that mean? Prices are never going back to the way they were. They may dip a little bit, we may get a break here, we may get a sell here and there. As the Fed keeps the interest rates high and we start pulling dollars out of the system, it will help. But you will never see, just like if you look in the history of the United States from once we started the Federal Reserve and when Nixon took us off the gold standard, we didn't, prices have never gone back to what they were at that time. You will never see that again. And wages do not go up at the rate of inflation, which means for the next several years, if not the next decade, we are going to see hard economic times, not just in the United States, but worldwide, because the entire world shut down. We printed off trillions of dollars and we flooded the system with cash and currency. Money has something of value back behind it. Currency is different. That's why they call it currency and not money. Currency is meant to be moved around. It's meant to flow like a river. When it becomes stagnant, it rots, just like water. That's why they call it a current sea. Okay? With that being said, quit blaming various people, various groups, various countries. That is the reason we're having horrible inflation right now. So don't blame the president, although they can contribute and do things to mess with the economy. It's really a money and a numbers game when it comes to the central banks of the world, okay? So now let's get to the point of what I'm trying to say. We cannot rely on Walmart or whatever Publix or whatever store dominates the area that you live in what country or what world. You can't just rely on that. Now, you can't completely self-sustain yourself in your backyard either. You can do a lot, but you cannot self-sustain. Maybe if you have a farm, you can do it, but most of us do not have the room to do that. However, there are creative and ingenious things that you can do to help take the edge off of things. Minimize your liabilities while making your income grow. Like I said, I'm not trying to give financial advice. You have to live below your means, which means you have to make sacrifices during these times. I don't know if we're headed to a depression. I know we're in a recession. I'm going to call it the silent recession because our governments refuse to admit that. Probably did not cause panic for everyone. But borderline depression coming, in my opinion. I don't like to fearmonger. I like to be hopeful. And perhaps it won't play out to the extreme that I'm fearing. But that being said, I'm not going to rely on that. So I rely on gardening. What are the most essential things that us humans need? We need shelter, we need food, we need air, we need water, and we need each other. What I see in the world today is division. We're dividing. The family bond is broken. We're arguing over every little thing rather than paying attention to the true and most important things. The slightest thing just sets us off. Arguing over everything. We're divided. We don't have each other. We're relying on Walmart for food and the government to bail us out. I don't believe in that philosophy. Now, I'm not a prepper. I'm not going to spend my entire life and all my money preparing for an end of the world scenario. Let me give you an example. If it's an end of the world scenario, money ain't going to matter anyway. If it isn't an end of the world scenario, economies will recover. You'll go through a bad time. You'll go through a depression. It may be horrible for even years, but it will recover. So money is not going to go away unless it's literally the end of the world. So, balance. Don't rely on just money. We have the brains. We can do it. Grow food indoors. Dry them. Can them. Plant perennial plants that return year after year after year and don't require tons of your time and work to create them. Fruits, vegetables, fruit trees. I'm showing you some examples of fruit trees. I got grapes. Freeze them. Dry them. Make raisins. Get a dehydrator. Can them. Learn how to can. Get chickens. Put them in your backyard if your country or your state allows you to do it. They shoot out eggs like a Pez dispenser. Get a pond with fish in it. Whatever you gotta do. Don't just rely on the government and grocery stores and fast foods to take care of you. If history has shown us everything, it's a roller coaster. We're gonna have bad times and we're gonna have them for a while. We'll see how it plays out. Like I said, I don't like being a fearmonger. Let's be positive. So, garden. Better health, better nutrients, better tasting. It's in your backyard. It's free once you get it going. Fruit trees are free once you invest in them and you put them in. You gotta live below your means. It's important. Live below your means and invest the rest, either in interest-bearing savings accounts, put it in a Roth IRA, put it in a 401k, put it in the stock market, buy rental properties with it, save it for an emergency because they're coming. Your house is going to break down, you're going to lose your air conditioning, your car's going to break down. I've got to have a surgery here soon. Didn't plan on it. If I didn't have any emergency money, what would I do? This is so important. It goes along with my message. The point of my channel is to teach everybody to self-sustain. Don't just rely on somebody. When you rely on somebody, and by that I mean the government, you are putting all the power to them. You're at their mercy. You don't have to do it. Break free from the matrix. Thanks for watching. I'm Corey Lefevre, your host. I truly appreciate it. If you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, please put them in the comments below. Let's get talking. Let's talk about something that's real, something that's important, rather than all this BS that is just running around everybody. Oh, he looked at me funny. He didn't use the right words to talk to me. Let's talk about some real stuff. If everybody had a garden in their backyard, everybody had chickens, we can barter. It's how they got through in the Great Depression. We don't have to rely on just the government. Remember, they work for us, not the other way around. Put all our petty quarrels aside and let's come out of it. Grow a garden. It's healthier, it's better spiritually, it's better health-wise, it tastes better. There's a lot of reasons to do it. Just comment below if you have any questions. If there's anything you want to add to this, let's have a peaceful discussion to talk about it. Just leave a comment below and let's get it going. With that, I want to thank you for listening, especially all the way to the end. I do really feel that this was an important video. I'm hoping everybody learned something from that. And I say, let's make this world a paradise, 1 yard at a time.